It's October 31st, ooh, Halloween, etc. This is Pocket Gamer to tell you what's new and noteworthy and exciting on the App Store this week. Bit.Trip Run is an auto runner like Rayman Jungle Run and Friends, but it's way more exacting and way less forgiving than those games. That kind of sounds horrid, but it's actually a thrill when you get to grips with the game and pull off some amazing runs, not least because the game's catchy soundtrack is linked to your movements, and the song plays out in time to each jump, slide, spring and kick you perform. The controls in this iOS version, it's a port of PC and console game Runner 2, aren't perfect. There's a little lag before jumping which can throw you off at times, but you'll get it, you'll get used to it, and when you do, you'll find a balmy, feature-packed and addictive little game.
Actually, don't do that again. The guards in this museum are mind lice. We want to be...
Like its predecessor, SANGRE 2 is a game without graphics, so the hostile inhabitants of its eerie afterlife and your guide, Sean Bean, are conjured up as three-dimensional sound and pumped into your brain box via stereo headphones. You simply tap on four corners of the screen to walk and clap, and you spin your entire body around in circles to move. It uses the gyroscope in your iPhone. Playing this ultra-immersive game with your eyes shut and the sound up loud is a surprisingly unnerving experience. A perfect game for Halloween then, but definitely not for the faint-hearted. Chippy is a hectic time management game that puts you behind the counter in a typical English chip shop. You have to fry chips, batter fish, cook sausages and wrap up meals in newspaper. The individual steps to each of those things is often pretty easy, but it becomes a brilliant car crash of burnt fish, unhappy customers and salt going everywhere when you get overwhelmed. It's got silly physics which are always great fun, cute cartoon art, it's a winner. Pocket God was a very inventive God game when it came out. This spin-off is far less original though. It's Doodle Jump, just set on a tropical island or some other locations and with those iconic inhabitants as the jumpers. It's got some interesting obstacles like giant meteors, killer ants and wind that blows you off course, and some gruesome death scenes to go with them, but otherwise this is a pretty typical jumper with objectives, boosts and leaderboards. Anomaly Warzone Earth was the original reverse tower defense game, where you played as the invaders instead of the defenders. Your job then was to plot a path of least resistance and supply your creeping units with power-ups and repairs. Good fun, and gorgeous sequel Anomaly 2 adds to that formula with added tactical options and new features. You can now transform your robots into these mechanized walkers which give you different abilities, for example. There's also full online multiplayer with one player defending and the other attacking. What is the smartphone equivalent of a button basher? Touchscreen tapper, perhaps, whatever the word. Thor The Dark World is just that, a rather boring game where you repeatedly tap on ice trolls and marauders until they get all dead, and a bad Chris Hemsworth impersonator says something silly. You can recruit a team of backup soldiers, where different units are strong and weak against different enemies, and you can lob your magic hammer thingy and cast lightning spells, but the controls make doing so pretty unpredictable. It's also freemium to Asgard and back, with 3 different currencies to worry about and more.
Yes, yep, feel my wrath.
你还是什么 magic?
Everplay's vaguely enjoyable Axis and Allies is a bit like flight control, but instead of sending planes to airports, you're guiding ugly trolls to undead skeleton warriors. Everything is done by drawing paths on the screen which might send a fighter across the battlefield, tell an archer who to strike, or tell your mage who to heal. It's a little fiddly, especially on the iPhone, but it does the job. It does also get a little bit repetitive though.
As you wish.
Say something.
Vlad is an auto-runner with a difference. This time, you're manipulating the environment rather than the hero. As such, as this weird dust ball creeps across the level, you must move these chunky blocks to make platforms or destroy obstacles. It's got a surreal art style and loads of content. It's alright, but fiddly controls make it less fun than it could be. Juice Cubes is the latest game from Rovio Stars, the publishing arm that brought us Icebreaker and Tiny Thief. This one is far less inventive. It's another one of those games where you trace a path through 3 or more adjoining gems of the same colour. It does have some good ideas in there. You can make a bomb if you match 4 or more fruits, and the way you finish your stroke dictates the direction the bomb will blast, things like that. It's also a scholar of the Candy Crush monetization school, which is quite off-putting. A perfectly playable game in all, but perhaps not up to Rovio's usual standards.